The final outcome in this research indicated that the online learning cannot substitute traditional learning, and the most desirable model of the learning method is a hybrid model. Uh, for the recommendation, we can use the finding of this study as the guideline for the school or university uh, in terms of selecting the best learning model for new normal learning and teaching method. So this could lead to the successful learning outcome. And a hybrid model, including in-person classes supplemented with online learning, can be implemented in many school programs and university, even after the COVID-19 outbreak as well, because this model is can balance the pros and cons of both methods. Yeah.
Thank you very much
Yeah.
for your wonderful presentation. I think it is also relevant for Bangladesh also.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to request our respected concept paper presenter, Dr. Sakila Yasmin Madam, to present her paper. Time is 10 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Mahbub. So, for giving me the opportunity to present concept paper today. So, my topic, I'm going to share the slide now. Give me a few seconds. First, I have to Do you see my slide?
No.
No, no. Yes, now we can see.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, this is the title. So, the outlook of supply chain management research amid the COVID-19 pandemic. So, here actually I did an explorative analysis of recent researches. Before going into the presentation, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Shakila Yasmin, currently serving as the Associate Professor of the Institute of Business Administration, University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. So, moving on. The background of the study. So, as you all know, the current pandemic situation we are going through. So, it started late in last year, in 2019 in China, and it gradually spread all over the world. And rapid spread of the virus and its fatal impact on human health actually kind of created a standstill situation in many businesses and many supply chains across the world. And another reason for the gravity of the impact of coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic is the presence of asymptomatic spreader. So there are people who will not fall sick, who will not have any symptoms, but they will be carrying the virus and spreading to the community. So that's another reason that has increased the gravity of the situation. And to contain the virus, countries across the world have taken measures like quarantine, self-quarantine, lockdown measures, etc. So which created a disruption in businesses and also supply chains. So as a result of quarantine, lockdown, many people getting sick, getting hospitalized, many of the production facilities had to close, and closure and restrictions on movement created problem for distribution networks and logistic networks. And also there has been disturbances in inbound as well as outbound logistics. So ultimately what happened in terms of supply chain, both upstream and downstream has experienced different types of shock. Upstream means the sourcing side, so sourcing gets hampered, disturbed, and downstream, so demand pattern, consumer behavior, consumer buying behavior, everything has changed due to this pandemic. So this is the background of this study. And also both local and global supply chains has got hit due to this pandemic. And since the inception of the outbreak in China and its gradual spread in other parts of the world, researchers started projecting the impact of the pandemic, and also they have came up with many recommendations to tackle the situation. However, the whole globe is still struggling with lots of unknowns in terms of the havoc the virus has taken and will also take in future on the supply chains across the world, let alone the health and economy as a whole. So the problem is, yes, a lot of researches has been done, but the researchers focusing on supply chain management are working in isolation in their own circle and context. The results of the studies conducted to date remain scattered across different sources. So there is no one place or no repository, nothing comprehensive available so that anyone can go and look into it, what has been
হ্যাঁ,
done.
আপনি আসছেন
For example, I did a
আচ্ছা ঠিক
lot of
আছে ঠিক আছে
searching, but I could identify only one article conducting a systematic review of literature on
আপনার নামটা কি
COVID-19 pandemic. But this paper has identified supply chain management as one of the important focus
বিন
areas of the researchers related to the ongoing
বিতুরি
pandemic. So this is the only literature
বিতুরি
that I could find that have covered whatever research has been done
ঠিক আছে
on business and management sector
হ্যাঁ
during this
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে
COVID-19 period.
থ্যাংক
So the main problem is there is no comprehensive review of these researches.
10 মিনিট বলি
Given the unpredictable evolvement, propagation, and prolongation of the pandemic, collaborative research is must to combat this situation. So actually, my work is going to create a platform for collaborative research projects. The objective of this research is to identify the issues addressed in research in relation to supply chain management during COVID-19 pandemic, and to pinpoint the methodologies used in these researches. I also like to comprehend the recommendations provided by the researchers to combat the crisis, and any follow-ups for the new normal operations will be looked at. And also, I would like to determine the identify the open questions and future research opportunities in this regard. Given the objectives, my research questions are what are the key issues and contexts covered in literature relating to supply chain management during COVID-19 pandemic? What research methodologies have been employed? How have the local and global supply chains affected by this pandemic? What are the long-term impacts of, of this pandemic on supply chains and their management? What can be or should be done to tackle the crisis and enhance resilience against such disruptions? And whether there is any untapped research area in this respect. So these are the research questions. Now, coming to my research methodology, I followed a systematic literature review method. So, usually this method is used in medical sciences, but many of the business research scholars suggest use of this method in business and management researches too. So, I developed a framework to do the systematic literature review. So, as you see, So actually, I identified a number of research databases. So I downloaded papers from those. I searched research articles from those databases, and based on my searches, I actually found more than 100 research focusing on supply chain management during COVID-19 pandemic. So from there, actually, I chose the articles which have been indexed in Scopus database and obviously published in peer-reviewed journals. The time frame was January to July 2020. And while doing the search, I have used these keywords COVID-19, coronavirus, pandemic or epidemic or outbreak, and supply chain logistics and OSCM, so operations and supply chain management. So these are the keyword search. Um, and when searching, we cover titles, abstracts, and keywords. So after we have identified a downloaded more than 100 researches, I excluded the articles which are not directly related to supply chain or logistics management and are not directly related to COVID-19 pandemic. And also, I had to exclude the papers which I could not access in full form. So if I get only the abstract or title, I excluded that from my study. For data extraction and analysis, I did not use any software here, so I read all the articles and evaluated the full papers. So finally, I ended up with 20 research articles that I have reviewed and analyzed. So given the research method, so from my analysis of these 20 articles, I have identified that these are the issues that has been covered in the researches. For example, actually majority of the researches focused on supply chain resilience, how to enhance resilience through agility, visibility, responsiveness. This issue has been covered by 8 of 20 research articles have reviewed. Supply chain viability concept, which is a concept beyond resilience. So this actually more than resilience. This means a viable supply chain means this is more dynamic and they can absorb shocks and disruptions quickly. They will not fall apart due to any disruptions like we are experiencing now. So this focus was I have found in 2 articles I have reviewed. 3 of the articles focused on sustainability of supply chain during this COVID-19 situation. Here, sustainability meant social sustainability. So these papers actually focused on job losses, forced overtime, and issues like unsafe working condition, these things. And also the people who lost their job, they did not have any kind of compensation or any kind of social safety net. So these issues have been covered in these 3 papers. One paper I found interesting that focused on dealing with ambiguity. So this goes beyond traditional risk management in supply chain, traditional resilience model, or even viability model. This talks about actually how people take decision under situations of ambiguity. So this concept has been taken again from biological science. Okay, so and I have found 6 researchers focusing on recovery model of supply chains. So they have developed a specific mathematical model, case-based analysis to create recovery plan for the supply chains during this pandemic. In terms of context, I would say majority of the researches I have reviewed covered global supply chains in general, so 11 out of 20. Five of the researches focused on local supply chains. One of them covered Bangladesh supply chain in Bangladesh, and other local supply chains include India, Italy, Hong Kong, Canada, and also there were some papers which focuses on sector-specific supply chain, for example, apparel manufacturing, food supply chain, essential goods and services, and also in-person services. So services that needs the customer and the service provider need to be present together. So these kind of services, supply chain of this kind of services. So I had six papers focusing on these specific sectors. In terms of theoretical underpinning and methodology employed in the researches, as you can see, majority of the researches has been built on dynamic systems theory. Actually, this theory talks about how a particular system adjusts itself to change situations over time. So that's dynamic system theory. So 6 of 20 researchers has this theory as a basis. 2 researchers focused on decision theories under uncertainty. 3 of the researchers used sustainability theory. So they talked about triple bottom line issues, social sustainability, worker safety, these kind of things. And a large majority of researchers is actually focused on risk management theories of supply chain, or we can say lean, agile, and resilient management of supply chain theories. 2 of the researches used have been built on service delivery theory. So they focus more on services. For example, one paper I already mentioned, so they focused on the services where the customer and the service giver needs to be present together. And another paper focused on regular product, but they looked at it from the service delivery perspective, and they recommended that product manufacturers or product retailer should focus more on service dimension of their customer value creation during this situation of pandemic. For example, if you are selling a machinery or equipment, rather than trying to sell new equipment, you should now focus on delivering remote maintenance or repair service, because due to loss of income, due to less economic activity, people are less interested to buy new machinery equipment at these situations. Rather, they would love to fix their old one and use that one. So this type of researchers has focused on service delivery theory. And in terms of broad methodology employed, I have found 3 researchers working for, it has used simulation models to identify the impact of COVID-19 on supply chain, and they propose using simulation models to determine the impacts or possible impacts of any disruptions like this COVID-19 situation. 2 of the researchers used mathematical model and optimization models, but majority of the researchers actually followed more theoretical approach, theory-based academic literature they relied on. And also they took into account some policy documents in terms of how to handle these situations. And two researches I found, they have actually did use primary data using questionnaire survey or semi-structured interview method. Now, the finding impacts on supply chain as identified by these researchers I have reviewed. So, one is supply disruption. That means this is a disruption in the upstream. So the suppliers are in the lockdown regime, so their facilities are closed, or the or supplier has not been able to produce the desired goods or services when they are supposed to do due to limited number of people they can employ they can bring in the facilities now given the restrictions, quarantine requirements, and social distancing policies. So suppliers production has slowed down. So this is the supply side disruption. Disruption in distribution networks. This is also due to the lockdown regions. So, and this has created disturbance in the distribution networks, and also border closure has created disruption in distribution networks because you can only the essential goods are they can be exported or imported from one country to another, but other goods flow has been stopped, at least for a few months, for a few days, few weeks. So that has created a disruption. And also propagation and ripple effect of the virus. That means if you have a global supply chain, you have supplier across the world, but all the supply sites, supplier facilities has not been subject to lockdown all at once. So one site has recovered, one destination has recovered, but the other destination has is experiencing those lockdown and quarantine situations. So that has a the propagation is not actually instantaneous. It is gradually propagating from one point to another. So that has created a different type of problem for supply chains. Like although you are recovering in one particular supply issue, but you are now experiencing issue with another component that you need to deliver your final product to your customer. So that's another problem. Another is the ripple effect. Ripple effect means when you are facing problem in one particular supply chain, that is being transmitted, or that is creating an impact to other related, or traditionally we think they are not related, but still they are creating an impact in other supply chains. So that's the ripple effect. For example, as people are getting due to job pattern, people's income is going down. So many people's buying behavior has been changed. So they are actually switching from more expensive to less expensive items in terms of their consumables. So that means a particular disturbance in one industry is creating actually a ripple effect in other industries too. Okay. And another impact is, so those are down upstream impact, but we due to these pandemic, downstream impacts are also being experienced. For example, demand shock, especially, and for certain product demand has gone down rapidly, but other products demand has suddenly surged up, and sudden surge is demand, whereas the supply has been disrupted, is really a difficult situation for supply chains given the situation. For example, food, essential items like toiletries, cleaning materials, these has experienced a sudden surge in demand because people were kind of panicked, so they had a panic buying behavior. But at the same time, supplies of this distribution network of these items has been affected by the pandemic.
Thank you.
So, hello.
Thank you, ma'am. We hope you will send the full paper. We'll go for publication. Take
Okay.
1 minute to finish. 1 minute. Last 1 minute.
Okay. So these are the major impacts identified by the researchers and major ways to tackle the crisis as found from the researchers. So major recommendation found: one is alternate sources of supply, rerouting of distribution network, alternate distribution channels. So here many of the researchers talked about omni-channel, that means selling online as well as offline, and also delivery, last mile delivery through um, last mile delivery, changes in last mile delivery, and also enhancing production of high demand essential items, re-engineering of facilities and business models, and restructuring supply chains. So to implement these recommendations, most of the researchers suggested mapping of the supply chain and also building up intertwined supply network, built-in redundancy, and also visibility through connectivity and data sharing, reshoring, and finally, majority of the researchers recommended use of Industry 4 technologies, because by using Industry 4 technologies, we can actually increase the speed or velocity, visibility of supply chain, and also we can reduce the response time for any sort of disruptions. So that's all from my part. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting the wonderful presentation. Now we would like to request on behalf of Professor Joyuddin Arif to present the speech by Qazi Turin Rahman for 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. Qazi Turin Rahman.
Mr. Kazi Turin Rahman. Hello.
Hello, yes, sir. I'm online. I'm
Yeah,
just sharing.
please share the PPT.
Yes, sir.
Try
I'm
to
sharing.
share the PPT as early as possible.
International.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Dr. Mahmoud Ali and other distinguished professors, faculty members, researchers from different countries. Our papers on basically on binge watching on Netflix during COVID-19 pandemic, an empirical study in Bangladesh. So the work is going on. We are going to finish within 1 week or 2 weeks. It is on pipeline, and we have developed a PPT for your presentation and getting some support and understanding. How can we finish with policy recommendation and developed in a good form? So Mr. Kaziturin Rahman, our first author, he will present the PowerPoint slides to you in favor of us, and finally I will conclude the remarks.
Very nutshell, please.
Yes.
In a nutshell.
Right, sir. Hello. So can you see my screen?
No.
No.
Slide is not.
Yes, it is going on. Trying. Yeah.
Right. Right. So is
yes,
it
good.
visible?
It is going to be turned. The screen should be larger. Okay. Okay.
Go to the next slide.
So it is the title. Okay. Carry on. Binge watching on Netflix during COVID-19 pandemic and empirical study in Bangladesh. Okay?
Right. So welcome everyone to our presentation. I'm Qazi Turin Rahman. I did my MBA in global business from University, UK, and along with Professor Zahiruddin Arif, we have come up with our research, which is being watching on Netflix during COVID-19 in Bangladesh. So to start off, so as we know that Netflix is the pioneer in streaming services, and they have about 193 million paid subscribers in the world. And so just to familiarize ourselves with the concept of binge watching refers to watching multiple episodes in one sitting, or as you can say, in rapid succession. And binge watching is something which is very prevalent among the young viewers, especially during a time like COVID-19 when everyone is either working from home or studying at home. So this research basically investigated various aspects of this concept. Right. So from our extensive literature review, from the research gaps, we came up with the three research questions. So the first one being, what are the motivational factors that drive Netflix use? Then how much binge watching is done per month, and what are the negative aspects linked with binge watching on Netflix? Right. So our objectives are from the research questions, as I just mentioned, to uncover the motivational factors, to calculate the amount of binge watching, and to determine the negativity linked to binge watching. Right. So as for our methodology, this was an exploratory study with a cross-sectional time horizon. So from our
หนูพรี
primary
เซนต์ไป
survey,
แล้วหนู
which
พรี
was
เซนต์ไปแล้ว
conducted from June to August,
โอเค
we did the study on a sample size of 105 Netflix binge watchers from the age ranges of 20 to 34. And among my 307 Facebook connections, I were able to identify 149 who fit the description of being Netflix binge watchers, and among them, eventually 105 participated in our study. So the response rate was around 70%. And the system of obtaining the responses were a set of structured questionnaires in Google Form. And for data analysis, tabulation, calculations, we used Microsoft Excel. Right. So moving on to the findings. So the first thing that we found out was the platforms used for Netflix consumption. And what we found is that around 65% used smartphones, which was the top platform for using Netflix, followed by laptops, desktops, and televisions. Right. So moving to our next finding, which is the answer to our first research question, the motivational factors influencing Netflix use. So the top factor that influenced use was the wide range of shows available on Netflix, which is at 68%, followed by relief from boredom, relief from stress, and the various show recommendations that you get from Netflix as you're browsing. Right. So the second research objective was to calculate the amount of Netflix media consumption per month. So on an average, what we found is that the respondent base saw 5.57 episodes in one sitting. Each episode was 0.7 hours long, which is around 43 minutes. And they used Netflix for about 4.57 days per week. So from these inputs, we were able to calculate that in a
Share further the slide. Share.
As a distinguished dedicated discussion, she will discuss on the papers. And Dr. Sadhana Khan is from Central Queensland University, Australia. Please, 10 minutes time, ma'am.
All right, thank you. I'll just be very brief, actually. I have recently written a paper on global supply chain management during and post COVID-19. And based on that, I will just reflect on current papers that we have just went through. I congratulate all of the researchers for choosing such wonderful and topical issues. I'll start with Parul Khanna, who highlighted on the economic impact of COVID-19, especially in India, and also Suthashini. I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing your name right. I did receive your paper, and it was on the student, the learning impact, basically. So you have recommended hybrid kind of learning with online and on campus, both form. So those are really interesting issue. Professor Shakila's paper is probably something which attracted my attention the most, because I just recently worked on it. So I'll share some of my input in my book chapter. So I'll start sharing the slide, and I take 5 minutes to explain them. All right, thank you. Can you guys see my slide?
No, no.
No.
You have to
Not yet?
present your screen.
Yeah, I did.
Go to the present now.
All right, I think we are actually on a time shortage. I mean, I'm pressing present now, but your entire screen, right? That option I will take. I'm sharing, but it's not coming for some reason.
Go to the madam. Go to the turn on the. Then go to the slide open. Then change the slide. It will come. Present now. Enter a window. Opening the slide.
Window. All right. So
Then,
it's window. All right. I'll probably a
but
window, right?
first you will have to have open. Then, yeah. Madam, did you go to the?
Can you see it?
No, we cannot. Yes, it is coming. Yes. Now it is okay.
All right. So basically, my paper's name is title is Sustainable Global Supply Chain Management Model for Post-COVID-19 International Business, and I have written it with Professor Julian Teicher from Central Queensland University. And this is the link, and this is how the book looks. It's published by Routledge, which is a tier 1 publisher in UK and USA. So basically, the chapter synopsis, we argued in the chapter that integrating and customizing closed loop supply chain model and supply management, traditional supply management practices will help improve the agility and flexibility of the supply chain management during and post COVID-19 situation. And the reason why we applied these models and integrated them is because we have seen certain events and certain policies of the government which has been kind of sporadic during the COVID-19 situation. So different government has taken different international business policy or for tackling the challenges during COVID-19. So one of the things we observed, and this is from within the timeline from January to May, initially, obviously, you can see situation A prevailed, where level of collaboration in the global supply chain management was normal, and main objective was to focus on the cost benefit. And in situation B, as the time progressed, and this is kind of at the early stage, the collaboration started dropping at a point where basically it was zero at some point. So everybody was looking after themselves and trying to provide for their own population rather than collaborating with each other. But as the time passed, like from April onward, some of the countries were actually starting to collaborate, such as the collaboration started mainly with between Singapore and New Zealand, and then gradually 25 countries has joined. And some other countries like China and USA and Australia were at each other's throat and started non-cooperating. So we had two situations, like situation C, where collaboration was maximum, and in situation D, where actually it was negative. So depending on these four different situation, we cannot predict at this moment where things are going, but obviously in terms of essential commodities, or you may say medical essentials and food type of commodities, obviously some countries are trying to increase the collaboration even beyond the normal level. So they have started to realize that increasing collaboration and even relaxing some of the border restrictions will actually help the international business to be more agile and more flexible, and that will cater to the local market's need. So global supply chain agility was defined in terms of speed and flexibility mainly in three different areas of supply chain, that is sourcing, manufacturing, and delivery. So the flexibility part used to be all about promptness to adjust supply chain, promptness to adjust speed, sorry, and promptness to adjust destination, and promptness to adjust volume. Now, I recommended, me and my co-author recommended promptness to tools and retool and repurpose the facilities as the new aspect of COVID-19 flexibility capabilities to promptly respond to the local market demand and the unpredictable situation. So three models we have integrated in order to propose a sustainable global supply chain management framework for the post-COVID-19 international business. And that includes traditional supply chain activities, but selected ones like sharing knowledge, empowering each other within the supply chain, that means within the partner, and strengthening the communication and coordination between carefully selected partner through better IT and communication network. And this will help facilitate the closed loop supply chain model, that is one of the sustainable supply chain model. And in this model, you can see that raw material, the three different stages of supply chain, that is sourcing, manufacturing, and delivery, result into either reuse, remanufacture, recycle, or repurpose. That is the disposal part. And some parts are obviously disposed, but most of the parts which can be reused, remanufactured, and recycled goes back to the production process, either being used as raw material or virgin material, and or in the manufacturing process, it is reassembled or refabricated, and it goes to the buyer and consumer during the delivery process. So it goes on, the closed loop goes on until you use or deplete the whole process or material. And wastage, all kind of wastage are repurposed, remanufactured. So basically, the original model had reuse, remanufacture, and recycle. The repurpose is the new one that I have added. And in the manufacturing process, you can see italic, retool, and repurpose. And in manufacturing process as well, we have to be quickly able to change our manufacturing facility to provide the essential commodity. We cannot keep on producing essential commodity year long, because we don't have that much demand normally in the market. So in normal times, we can produce whatever luxury product or other products, but we have to have the flexibility to quickly retool and repurpose our facilities. So this closed loop supply chain model is obviously environmental, looking after the environmental sustainability part. But if we choose the some of the traditional supply chain management activities, such as very carefully selecting some partners and build up a more trusted relationship with them, sharing knowledge with each other, so that during lockdown or border restriction in future, they can be self-sufficient. So a global supply chain agility or flexibility is influenced by all of these activities or tactics. Obviously, in normal time, we want to take advantage of global sourcing. However, in difficult time or during restriction, when borders will be more flexible for only essential commodities, we can repurpose and retool. Or in some cases where it is not allowed to, border will not be open, in those cases we can, organizations or supply chain partners can actually be self-sufficient by themselves or by repurposing for the local market. So that is all about this book chapter. We obviously presented a lot of documents and information about how things has progressed during the COVID-19 situation. And this is one of the table, which includes drivers and barriers for international business during COVID-19 crisis. Obviously, post-COVID-19 situation is still hard to gauge, and it is still developing. So I'm not sure. We are not sure at the moment how it will all pan out. But there are some countries who are at each other's throats. So we can expect that international business between those countries will create face tension, political tension. And one of them is obviously, because I'm in Australia, we highlighted some of the cases that has created tension between China and Australian trade relationship. So a lot of things can happen politically or globally, which can create further restrictions on especially in different region. This can be treated as an opportunity for international businesses, a post-COVID-19 situation. And that is the prediction we have ended with. But the main thing is that we still have a lot of question about it and how things grow up. I mean, how things pan out eventually will decide what strategy will be applicable for which countries. So there are certain uncertainty, but the model we have suggested will help deal with that uncertainty a little bit better by increasing the agility or flexibility of this global supply chain model. So that's the concept paper. And I think many of the findings that especially Dr. Shakila Yasmin has suggested from her literature review matches with what we have suggested as well. So I guess many people have been thinking about in the same direction, but using different methodology. So I think it's a very intriguing experience and for all of us, and we are learning new things, and there are many new opportunities that are coming in from this crisis. So not only in international business or economic sector, but also in the education sector, as Shuhashini has projected, because these are basically opportunities, because some students will need, for example, a bit flexibility through online services, etc. And we are getting more and more equipped and efficient in that. So I guess we have both, like we do have a lot of opportunity. We do have a lot of crisis and challenges ahead of us. But most importantly, I'm a very positive person. I think we have learning opportunity from all of this to build up a new society, new kind of system, new kind of supply chain. Thank you very much. And I wish you all with your completion of your paper. And in future, I noticed that most of the papers presented here today was either exploratory or descriptive, which is very normal because we are starting to. So in future, we will find a concrete relationship between different factors, and we will be able to test our model or hypothesis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam. It's a wonderful discussion. Now it is time to hear from Professor Dr. Mohammad Monirul Islam, sir. He is from Shahjalal University, working as Dean, School of Management and Business Administration. Professor Dr. Mohammad Monirul Islam.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, excellent.
Actually, I am from mobile network, and I am out of the electricity, so I need to use the mobile network. Anyways, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the session chair, Professor Dr. Muhammad Mahbub Ali sir, and also Entrepreneurial Economist Club from Dhaka School of Economics for arranging such a timely webinar and inviting me. I'm also thankful to all the special guests, discussant, and paper presenter for their excellent knowledge and insightfulness on the topic. Actually, it will definitely enrich our knowledge and understanding. Actually, I will focus as a special guest. I will not present any paper, but I will share some experience from the practical field within few minutes. So I think all of you know that just Thursday, maybe Thursday or Wednesday, the Google said you don't need any college or university anymore. That is alarming for traditional college or university where we are working for, because they have launched new professional certification program in data analysis, project management, UX design, IT related course. And even they said that in their own hiring, they will treat those kind of certificate as equivalent to the 4 years degree. So this is alarming. Even as a academician, I think here most of the participants from the academic background and research background. That's why as an academician, we need to think about what is going on. We need to teach required skill to be successful at work, not make them successful in classroom. Already one presenter from Thailand, she said about hybrid model. So we have three kind of options in this COVID-19 situation. So hybrid model, like online and offline, full online, and traditional model, like what we are doing in our country, especially public university and private universities in our country. But we need to focus some security measurement. We need to, if we want to continue that traditional model. There is on aspects, and also I also a few weeks ago I published an article on newspaper that I also suggested that we need to use integrated approach. Integrated approach means like we are business faculty, but we cannot teach our students all the business related courses, because organizations recruiting those kind of people who has knowledge IT related and also business related. So vertical integrations means we need to use like 40% business related courses and 60% IT related courses, or software related courses, web design related courses. That would be more fruitful, effective in these situations. And another news, I hope many of you already seen that last 30 July or 31st July, most of the newspaper covered that news, that they said about the Amazon double profit during pandemic, biggest profit ever. Amazon posted record sales at this COVID-19 situation. So you can understand everybody facing problem, but some of them getting some benefits. We have some opportunities also. So why Amazon making that much sales and making that much profit? Because COVID-19 pushed more shoppers online and into Amazon arms. Even the data said that less sales item for Amazon was like groceries. In this COVID-19 situations, they sell like 4 or 5 times more than the normal situations. And maximum consumer, they purchase larger basket or bulk amount of the product. That's why the sales have been increased, and the profit also, even in 2019, their profit was 2.6 billion US dollar. And in this year, in this COVID-19 situations, their profit increased by 5.2 billion US dollars. So we understand, even they have taken some strategy to face this situation. They have established 175,000 warehouse throughout the world, so that they can supply the product very quickly, because the delivery was a little longer, because some closure of these delivery organizations and service provider. That's why they established 175,000 warehouse and warehouse related workforce throughout the world. And they also face some labor crisis. Many labor, they didn't agree to work in this uh, crisis. So they have given some benefit to those workers who work in these situations. That is more bonus, overtime payment. So that's why many people attracted with that offer, and they work for the organization. And that way they made huge amount of profit. And lastly, I want to add some raw and new case study from my study, that is healthcare pharmaceuticals. I am working on that, some multiple case study approaches. So what healthcare pharmaceuticals did, so that is simple but effective. Simple strategy but effective strategy. During the lockdown, their sales decreased by huge amount. So they have communicated with the different physicians, specialized doctors, and they have recruited them, and they are giving free medical services to the patients, hospitals, and also some other pharmacies. What they're doing, so during that call, people are calling to the doctor and they're suggesting some medicine, and the patients are calling to the healthcare pharmaceuticals to supply their prescribed medicine. Actually, doctors are prescribing healthcare medicine. This way, they are increasing their sales. So this is like simple strategy, but it was effective, and they increased their sale by this strategy. So we need some practical strategy in this situation. Otherwise, we'll face already distinguished discussion say that is this is our sick period, but every illness there is some side effect. So we'll face that side effect after 6 months, maybe 1 year. We are going to face some recessions, some other problems. So we need to think about that issue, that strategy. As a business organization, as a academic people, we need to think about differently. So that everybody is saying new normal, but I always use that very much abnormal, but we have to accept it. So thank you so much for giving me chance, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Mohammad Islam, sir, for your valuable speech. I
Thank you,
think
sir.
you are really saying something that it is actually abnormal situation prevailing. So we need a COVID vaccine, and this COVID vaccine should be available in the free market. But if it is given in the hands of some people, then it will be. And I think that it will start stock up, and it will not be reached at the all the level of the people. So free market under free market economy, whatever the vaccine is invented, it should be distributed. Distribution channel should be properly used.
Right.
Now, I would like to request again Professor Subroto Chattopadhyay sir from India, University of Engineering and Management.
Professor, you have to unmute your mic.
Yeah, a very good evening to one and all. Right, I am Dr. Subroto Chattopadhyay. I am presently a professor of business administration at University of Engineering and Management, Kolkata. Uh, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So, I have a small presentation. I hope all of you can see my screen.
Yes. Yes, we can.
So basically, the theme of discussion in this international conference is how COVID-19 has impacted the economics, business, and supply chain. And I was listening to the earlier presenters, excellent presentations going on, right? So basically, if you are talking about, the two economic supply side threats of COVID-19, right? As you can see over here, there are capital problems, there are liquidity problems, and financial system shock and real economy freeze. Okay, so if there are capital problems and financial system shock, then in that case, right, the capital problems shut the credit channel, damaging capital formulation and ultimately growth, right? And the other things are very clear. Because of paucity of time, I'll not elaborate too much, right? This is another data which I have taken and I thought that I should share, right? So COVID-19 had a mixed impact on the pricing dynamics on the different agricultural commodities and products, right? So the figures are given over here, right? There was 4% increase in meat and poultry production, which is a good news. 14% increase in retail fresh produce volume sales. So these are positive news. But then, the wholesale egg prices was 3 times more expensive on an average, on a global average, right? These are April data. And, there are certain sectors which are badly affected, like, travel and tourism, restaurants, right? They were badly affected and there was a decline as compared to last year. So, rapid recovery, if there is a, V-shaped curve, rapid recovery after the crisis to normal or even beyond. And you can see the sectors also. So what are the solutions? So in that case, you offer solutions that help to reduce costs and leverage the existing systems. In other cases, you offer turnkey services which can be implemented quickly. And in the sectors which are mentioned, like fashion, lifestyle, electronics, automotive, right, it is slower recovery after crisis to normal level in these sectors. So the solution is to offer them help to reduce costs, trigger discussions on midterm solutions to win back customers. And this is another figure which I wanted to present, right? So you can see on the x-axis there is vulnerability, and on the y-axis the COVID-19 impact. So if there is low impact and high liquidity, you have to strengthen the position. If there is high impact and high liquidity, repositioning is required. If there is low liquidity and high impact, there has to be a turnaround planning, right? Turnaround has to be there. And if there is low liquidity and a low impact, then cash focus has to be there. So in a nutshell, that is all that I had to say. So there are, sectors like I already said, the real estate, the manufacturing, restaurants, travel tourism, which has, been impacted a lot. And also international trade and business is suffering a lot because of the standstill situation and international business is not happening. And that's why, there is a lot of economic slowdown, and this impact is going to last at least for the next 1 year. Thank you so much. Right. So that in a nutshell, I had to say. Thank you so much to Professor Mehboob and Dhaka School of Economics and Dhaka University for giving me an opportunity to present. Thank you.
Welcome, sir, for your excellent discussion. Now we are going to start our second technical session. I would like to request all to stay still closing ceremony if possible. So now I would like to request Dr. M. Samsudjaman, Director Business Operation SCI Formulation Limited, to kindly present his concept paper. Time is 10 minutes. Please, sir, look after the watch.
Okay, can I start, sir?
Yes, sir.
And can you hear me clearly?
Definitely.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. For it's a great honor for me for inviting me as a presenter for concept paper. And I made a presentation very in a very condensed form so that it will take less time. And I would like to present. I would like to present the concept paper now. And can you see the screen?
No.
You can't see the screen?
No.
Okay.
Sir.
I think it needs some kind of allow. You need to allow it, and then I can show the scene. I can. Yeah.
May I help you, sir?
Yes, please.
You can go to present me option.
Yes, present me option. Present now is there. Present now is there, and then.
Then please click the entire screen or the window.
Okay.
Before that, you need to open the slide.
Yes, it's slide is already been open, but
you go to the present now and window screen.
Click on window, please, sir.
Make it visible.
And make it share mode. Turn it in share mode.
You have to select one of the windows if you have several open. That's where I got stuck before.
Hello, yes, sir.
Just in the meantime, I think our learned colleague will present. Yes,
yes, sir. I'm here.
You will get 1 minute
Apologies for the disconnection. I'll just finish.
Kaviturin Rahman, start and finish your portion.
1 minute. No PPT slide.
Tell from your side, Turin. Okay.
Don't go for slide presentation. Just 1 minute.
Carry on. 1 minute.
Right. So I was at the implications of our study on Bing watching on Netflix in COVID-19. So since most of the participants are using smartphones, so this is an opportunity for telecom providers to cash in on this customer base by introducing mobile data packages for customers who are on the go. Plus, for the customers themselves, since they are suffering from one more episode syndrome and addiction, so they can use applications on their phone like Apple iPhone screen time to restrict their usage, and hopefully it will be beneficial for them. And as for the limitations and future research opportunities, so this was limited to the capital of Dhaka city. So there's definitely an opportunity to expand the sample size across the country, include more demographics, more genres of shows on Netflix. And as for the methods, there can be opportunities for mixed quantitative and qualitative studies as well.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Mr. Turin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next concluding remarks. Turin,
now,
concluding remarks.
yes. Learned colleague to present his paper. His slide is okay. Dr. M. Samsudjaman sir, are your slide is okay? Whether your slide is okay, sir? Dr. M. Samsudjaman sir? Okay, you take time to relax. I would like to request Mr. Supratim Chaudhary. Are you here? Then
Yes, sir.
you before starting our Dr. M. Samsudjaman sir, you present for 10 minutes, just 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I would be sharing my slide. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. Is my slide visible?
Yes, yes. Go to the slide bigger option.
Yeah. Thank you. Actually, the paper that I would be presenting today is a 4V approach in strategic human resource management post-COVID-19. As I'm into a practice in HR of an organization as well as a faculty of an HR with different management institute. Today, what we have learned is the COVID-19 has taught the importance of human being in the society as well as in the corporate front. And we have to agree by this. So this study have the scope of understanding the psychological imbalances of the task force, that's the workforce of the organization, and the effect of the VUCA, that is volatile, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity in the mind of the people due to this COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant impact on the sustainability of the business. So the 4V approaches is being mainly built upon certain criterias. That is, it is an approach which is to be administered in different operational layers and levels of an organization, whichever the operation level we talk about and whichever the department we talk about. The second thing is that it is a time when the management of the organization and in the corporate as well as in an institute, in the social field, whichever sector we take up, it is the time that we need to express our empathy among all levels of hierarchy towards all types of workforces working with us. Now, this 4V approach is a continual process. It's not a one-day process. It's a supporting tool. And it requires a continuous support initiative from the top management of any organization, of any institute. So it is a time when the management has to develop a leadership to instigate and develop a conjure relationship between the organizational vision and the working force. So this 4V approach is a strategic compliance deliberation, which comprises of managerial good practices. And all these things has to be there. The reason behind is we know the effects of COVID-19, and we have to accept this new normalness in our daily life. We have to accept the negative effects that is going to come, but still the things has to go on. The business has to go on. The processes has to go on if we think about a survival in the future. So, and it's also a time where we need a lot of flexibility and adaptability for our conscious changes. So with it, we know that this VUCA, that is the volatile, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which was already dripping into the business processes long back before the pandemic had happened. But now this VUCA has turned up into a bigger magnitude, and its impact, which is all mostly a psychological impact on the human beings. So the task force at the workplace, the workforce of an organizations are not having the effectiveness because of the safety of life, because all the kinds of uncertainty of economy, uncertainty of livelihoods, and uncertainty of the survival. Now, if we go ahead, yeah, okay. Now, if we look into the COVID-19 effects, and if we classify it into economic, operational, and market and psychological, it has, and if we try to look into what is the impact on the task force and organization, this has been classified, and economically, we are broken up. The organizations are broken up, the supply chains has been disrupted, and operationally, the effectiveness and the efficiencies of the people working in the organization at different layers, at different departments, are not being that effective. The effectiveness has been lost. So And again, in the organizational aspect, the challenges of the making the people work in this kind of a situation, or the remote working, what we call as work from home, the technology and the cost to technology, that is the COT, is also a concern to them. And the efficiency is also a concern, that how would this remote working will be helping out. And the social distancing for the organizations which are people intensive working, such as the manufacturing units, when we are having the social distancing in that kind of a condition, manufacturing processes are falling off. Now the market again is going to be volatile, it's going to be uncertain, so it is again a pressure on the mind of a task force. And even because of a lot of unemployment has been created, so the wage and the salary standards are getting revised every day, whereas the market prices of products and services are remaining constant, or it's moving high. So again,
okay, sir. Supratim, sir, you will get 1 more minute. So go to the conclusion part.
Yes, and this is the main part of the 4V model, which shows there are 4 aspects, which is the value-based management, vulnerability management, and virtual learning management, and visionary leadership, which will go for committed work excellence by the support of the top management. And this is the model which we are talking about. And the conclusion of this particular model would be 3. One is creating certainty among uncertainties, shared risk and responsibilities, that is creating an environment of entrepreneurship among the organization by giving responsibilities and shared risk. And the corporates needs to turn into a socio-corporate visionary leaders, just not leaders, but visionary leaders with an anticipatory skills. So these are the 3 main outputs of this model, if it is being applied as a strategic tool to the main policies of a strategic HR policy of an organization. Thank you very much for listening me.
Excellent discussion. Excellent discussion.
Stay well, stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent discussion. Now I would like to request Dr. Sultan A. from KV Institute of Management and Information Studies, India. Sir, please take 10 minutes time. Okay,
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Loss and gain.
Thank you for the confirmation, sir. So I will try to put in a nutshell of my topic, and I thank Professor Muhammad Mahbub Ali, sir, for inviting me to this conference. So my paper is about. Could you kindly mute the person who is okay? Thank you. So my topic is on reaction and relationship of Indian stock market due to COVID-19's outbreak. So myself, Assistant Professor A. Sultan from India. And first, I would like to give you a small introduction about COVID-19. We all know that it is originated from China, Hubei province. A 55-year-old individual was first identified to be in COVID positive. It is caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus, and the COVID-19 is a disease caused by this particular virus. And the first case in India was identified on 30th January 2020. It was in Kerala. Later, it got increased, and now it's actually increasing in an exponential way, which is a sad thing. Okay, so Indian stock market, in the sense, the data that is taken for the study is from Nifty 50, that is index that is considered as Nifty index, which is a benchmarking index for an Indian stock market. And the Nifty 50 is calculated with the 50 largest company in India, and weighted average is given for all the companies in the Nifty 50 index. This weight is calculated based on the capital that is being deployed by the companies in the market. And Nifty 50 index covers 14 different sectors. So I believe that is a good composite to indicate overall Indian stock market. So some important dates. In 22nd March, Janata curfew was first observed from 7 to 9 a.m. It is in lockdown. It's before lockdown. A one-day lockdown was observed. And on 25th March, first the lockdown was happened by, it was announced by Indian Prime Minister. And later, 15th April, the second lockdown was extended. The first and second lockdown was